Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Tuesday Tips, brought to you by the Hunt, Lift, Eat podcast. I'm Carter McKenzie. I'm hanging out with Luke. What's going on, dude?
Not much, man. Just living that camper life down in Louisiana, waiting to get out of the Army.
That Starlink and camper life.
Yeah. Starlink's fast as hell and it's awesome. The problem is my camper is parked in the middle of some trees, and so the satellite will hit the trees and cut out. So if I get all choppy, apologies.
Well, we're both sitting here sipping our coffee. It's been a good morning for my reveal trail cams that I set up recently on all the properties I'm watching. And coincidentally, you're getting your life together with your Whitetail gear. You went hunting yesterday for the first time in a long time. How was that?
Whitetail hunting for the first time in a long time. Yeah. It was different. It was actually, I was like sitting in the tree and I was like, it's been like 2.5, almost 3 years since I've hunted whitetails. Hadn't been in a tree in a long time. Been doing a lot of Western hunting. And yeah, it definitely was different, a little nostalgic, and I was a mess. Like, as you can imagine, as you and I can be. I like popped open my tough box. I've got a Pelican case that's got all my whitetail, my saddle, my sticks, all my shit. And it took me a minute of like staring at everything to even remember what it all was. Trying to go through it all. And so I like pulled everything out, sorted it all. And I forgot at the end of the last whitetail season, when I actually used the saddle a lot, I had upgraded a bunch of stuff, but then just thrown it all in the tub. And so I had all these little bits and pieces and things that were like little upgrades to the gear. And I couldn't remember what it all was, but it was good. It was good to get back into the whitetail woods. The one thing that I don't like about Western hunting and I love about whitetail hunting is just the ability to just get out there. I can go out and hunt for 2 or 3 hours in an evening. It's not like this whole ordeal where I got to pack up all the gear, go out, have a place to stay, walk for 10 miles. I can drive into the area, jump out, hunt for 2-3 hours, come back. It's a little bit more conducive with my crazy schedule right now. And it's perfect for what I'm doing down here in Louisiana. So it's good to get out. I was linked up with old Ron Jitter, John Ritter. We and him were hunting last night, and then I might go back out this evening. I haven't decided yet. But tomorrow there's a big cold front coming in, high of 50. It's been in the high 80s here in Louisiana, so that's going to be a big shift. And where we're at in Louisiana has the rut earlier, so that's going to be it's going to be good. The rut's actually we're probably in pre-rut right now, and we'll start seeing rut activity in the next couple days, which is awesome.
Yeah, man, it was 85 here yesterday, so the hunting's been slow, but it's cooling off now. 57 tomorrow, 55 Monday, 30 on Wednesday, 31 Thursday. So could be game time, man. I'm getting a little giddy about it. We just finally got hung a few new sets this past weekend up in Dahlonega, put out some cameras, and the pictures are rolling in. So picked a good spot. So that feels good. That's reassuring. So now I think on this slow Sunday afternoon, I might start getting together my, end of October, beginning of pre-rut gear for these next couple sits coming in for this upcoming week.
What are you primarily hunting? Ladder stands, or do you have lock-ons? Like, what kind of stand setups are you looking at?
Yeah, I'm not mobile at all on the properties I hunt. With the access I have and I guess proximity to where I live, I prefer hunting out of a ladder stand anyways. So I can set those up, and if I need to move them, I can move them, but set those up in pretty established areas because I'm familiar with the properties over the last 10 years. So I'll have a couple lock-ons that I can hang different sets for and use for archery in different areas. And then the ladder stands, that's kind of like my rifle season spots. But, scouting this past weekend, checked out a part of Ed's property actually where we turkey hunted, and it was kind of behind where we turkey hunted, and found I've always wanted to figure out how to hunt that hillside. It comes off a really steep ridge, and that property's down in that valley, that pasture that we hunted out of. I've always wanted to figure out how to hunt that ridge, but it's really steep. It's literally the beginning of the Appalachian Trail right there. And there's always so much activity in there. A lot of scrapes, a lot of rubs. So I was like, let me go in here and see if I can try and figure it out this year. And I found a really well-traveled scrape and rub line, kind of right above, maybe a third of the way up that mountain, foothill thing, right? And we won't call it a mountain. And I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, how can I figure this out? But it's so steep, it's hard to figure out how to put a stand in there. So that's where, a saddle and a set of climbing sticks would be really crucial. So I'm trying to figure out how to play that, because you followed the rub trees all the way down to the field edge, and there's a massive scrape. I knew it was going to culminate in a massive scrape, and that was an awesome reward once I got to the field edge. Just this huge scrape, really fresh scrape right under this tree. And so I'm trying to work that puzzle in my mind. But yeah, mostly ladder stands, except now I wish I was cool like you saddle guys.
Do you have any climbers or any lock-ons that you could have a more mobile setup with?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to throw I've got a set of climbing sticks, 3 or 4 climbing sticks, and then a lock on. I think I'll go hang about 25 yards back from that scrape on the field edge where I can see that path coming in, and then also have a visual on that scrape, and then hunt that with the right wind. Hopefully with this cold front this weekend, this coming week, Friday, it's going to be 34. So I don't know. Fingers crossed, man. That could be really cool.
Yeah, I'm down here now and I'm hunting public land in Louisiana, and it's always challenging. I was in Colorado for 4 months prior to the season, so had no ability to do any sort of scouting. And I got back down here, and basically yesterday was my first day even in the training area. I've been in that training area before when I was a lieutenant, coming from Fort Campbell down here to train, but definitely a little bit different now. So it's definitely been interesting. It's tough coming in without scouting. And I think that, a couple tips that I have that have paid off in the past hasn't yet for my one sit in Louisiana, but it's just kind of what to look for, especially in like kind of deep timber in the South where there's no agriculture, there's not really any open pastures. It's just, timber, and what to look for and kind of what my strategy is. And this is what John does as well. And it's really, looking for some sort of topography. I like to look, where there's some elevation drop. And then if you can find anywhere where you've got some ridges or a couple ridges coming together with those draws where they're converging, and then ideally you're looking for different transition areas. So the spot that I went last night, I just walked in and then just kept walking until I found over to like my left or my right, excuse me. I had like some early succession. It had been a burn probably 2-3 years ago. And so it's all those young brush and trees growing up into that and intermixed with some old plantation pines that have been thinned. And so that's great browse for the deer. They'll eat all that young stuff. And then down in the bottom, there's a big creek. So in that bottom, it's really thick brush, what you typically see down there. And it's right at the transition as it goes from the conifers into the hardwoods. So that's kind of the areas that I'm always looking for, and just set up, try to get the wind right. You always got to play the wind and always check it. I still spray with scent control, but I used to be crazy. I would drive to the stand in my, or where I was going to hunt in my underwear. Ritter still does that. He was stripping down yesterday. I'm like, dude, I don't care. It's really just where the wind is, and play the wind, and then just look for those transition areas, and then look for sign. I saw some tracks in there, and I was like, good enough, especially for my first sit out. So obviously right now, as you're in, I would really be looking for scrape lines. I didn't have the time yesterday. If I get out today, I'll probably go out earlier and then do some walking and try to find some scrape lines. Probably take a leak on all of them, or just spray them with some buck urine, and then circle back around later this evening and try to hunt them. But really just depending on where you're at in the country, and I'm not familiar with Louisiana. I'm told it's earlier, but if this was like back home in Virginia, like where you are, Carter, like right now is kind of hard because the bucks they're starting to daylight a little bit, but only, mostly it's only the younger ones that are really showing that activity. The big boys are still in that feed rest rut preparation kind of pattern. They're very predictable, which is good this time of year, but you're only getting tiny windows to be able to catch them. You can always get lucky and things shift, but for the most part, that's what those guys are doing. So it needs to get a little bit later when they all start getting on their feet and really start chasing and sniffing around. But scrape lines, I think, right now are a great bet.
Yeah, all my big boys are about an hour before shooting light currently.
Yep.
They know they're smart, right? It's not their. They don't need to be out in the open during the daytime, man. They're just doing their
Well,
thing.
and Jeff from Coags and I sat down and we talked about we were talking about whitetail, mule deer, elk, and it was just stuff I had never really thought about in that context. It's you know in the species, they all are very different. You hunt them differently, but the same general behavior has patterns, which I thought was really interesting. Right, like as they start to as they go through their progression towards the rut, those bigger mature deer, they need significantly more calories. They're the ones that the dominant deer are going to be having that massive load throughout the rut, right? They're going to be fighting, they're going to be running, they're going to be breeding all the does. And so they have a biological understanding of this. And so they're trying to conserve as many calories as possible. And so it's not in store as many calories as possible. So it's not even just the hunting pressure or the risk of that. It's where are they going to burn the least amount of calories? They're not going to be on their feet when it's 85 degrees, right? They're not going to be moving around. They're going to be bedded down. They're going to be resting. They're going to be conserving all that energy because they're warm animals. They're big, especially a big buck. The bigger the buck, the more surface area, right? It stands to reason there. And so when we start to kind of understand these patterns, and that's why those younger bucks start to get up and they start moving a little bit quicker because they don't have that caloric load. They also or that the caloric need, and they also don't have quite the experience in that old age, and so they're going to get up and they're going to be the ones that are sniffing early. That's why you see a lot more of that little buck activity, and it's really right at that last second. And when those does actually start hitting estrus, that those big boys will start getting on their feet. So that's just because you see some deer chasing doesn't mean necessarily that the rut is on, and that's been something that I've mistaken in the past. So,
What kind of gear are you carrying in at this point in time?
yeah,
What are
I've
some of your
got
favorites?
my setup isn't exactly how I want it right now, but I've got it relatively dialed in because I was running pretty mobile before. So I've got a tree saddle that I run. I utilize tethered, and I've got the one sticks. I've got three. I actually just ordered an aider, which is basically a nylon strap that I can hang on the last step to then give me some more height because three sticks is it's enough usually for me. I actually have a silly climbing technique that I've developed where I actually use a knee, and so I can get them a little bit higher because I got short, stumpy legs, so I can climb up with a knee. It hurts like shit because you're putting your knee on those like metal pieces, but hopefully with this aider that's coming in tomorrow, actually, that I'll have a little bit more height on those sticks. But I'm not one of these guys that needs to get 30 feet up in the air. Depending on the topography, I've really started to try to utilize terrain to get me higher. So if you can sit up and actually be on like right on that corner of a ridge line, or if there's a depression down into a creek, like I can be 10 foot up in the tree and still be 30 feet above the bottom that I'm looking into. And so I think there's some benefit to utilizing your terrain too. Um, but yeah, I've got the tree saddle, tethered one stick. I'm running or the tethered one sticks, running three of those. I utilize a Badlands. I don't remember the model. Caroline got it for me for Christmas a couple years ago, but I really like it. I want to make some modifications to it, but it's a fanny pack, but it's pretty big and it can strap around the tree. And then one of the zips, you unzip it and it opens up into a big basket, which is like super cool. So I can set my thermocell, water bottle, you know, phone, like whatever can just be sat in there. So like everything's, because I'm always like you get into the tree stand or you get into the saddle or you get on your hang on or whatever, and like it's like, where do I put my shit? It's like this is like a really nice piece to have everything kind of set there, organized, and you can get out and really is conducive to long sits because I can have a thermos full of coffee if I'm hunting cold mornings. I can throw my my lunch if I'm gonna do a dark to dark sit or anything like that. So I really dig that bag. I do want to make a modification because I want to be able to strap it because it doesn't have shoulder straps. I want to try to be able to rig it up so it'll connect to my bino harness, and so then it'll sit it up a little bit. So that's going to be a project whenever I get back home to have the sewing machine in the off season, is try to rig that up a little bit. But yeah, that's the basic setup, and then I don't remember, it's like the gear tether and then there's a Genesis 3D Printing makes a bunch of attachments. It's this guy who started his little business for tree stands or saddle hunting and mobile hunting setups. And so I've got these 2 hooks that go in there, and they're good for a bow, but they're also good for when you're rifle hunting. You can have them on the tree, and it gives you a little bit of a rest depending on the angle from the saddle. So I actually really like that. And then you can hang the rifle off that too. So that just allows to be a little more stable when shooting from a saddle, because it's a little bit difficult.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's something I've never tried, man.
Yeah, man, you should.
I think maybe for rendezvous, I'll ask Perry if I could borrow his or something and give it a whirl.
Yeah, I'll bring mine too, and you can definitely try them out. It's
one more thing to buy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and dude, it's a
not
whole.
cheap. Yeah.
Well, because everybody's setup's different. Like John and I run different setups. Perry and I run different setups. Evan, like it's all going to be customized to you and how you want to move, how you want to. Like I want less shit, but then I feel like I always got too much, and so I'm looking to streamline. I want to carry less straps everywhere. Like I was trying to climb up. John was funny. I was like, dude, I haven't touched this stuff in 2 years. He was like, you better leave extra early because it could take you 40 minutes to get into the tree. And it wasn't quite that long, but it took me a hot minute because like I just hadn't climbed in a while, and like just knowing where you have all your shit set, where your ropes are, where's your lineman's belt, like just the general where all your stuff is on your person. I highly recommend that people climb a bunch before they go hunting. I've climbed in the past and like it came back and I was safe. I was much more safe than I've been in previous years of my life. I only had one sketch moment where I had to completely detach everything because of some tree limbs, but there's been a lot of guys in the Southeast chat pushing out. I guess there's been some friends of friends falling in tree stands and stuff. So it's been going through the channels for the team of making sure everybody's tying in. And I think getting a little older, especially having kids, you realize you can't take some of these stupid risks. When I was younger, I never harnessed in ever. Definitely not in a ladder stand, but I mean, I would run a climber and not be tied in. I'd run, just silly. So, definitely need to make sure we're doing the right thing and being safe because that shit can get bad. I think it was Forrest, one of his buddies, just broke his back.
Yeah. Not a good way to end your hunt, man.
No, it wasn't Forrest. It was Chris. I think it was Chris, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, one of the guys from their lease just fell and broke his back. Like that fucking sucks, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that would way suck. Yeah.
What camera setups are you running, man?
I have converted completely to reveal cell cameras on all the properties that I hunt. And so I just bought a bunch and got those set up. I'm trying out the rechargeable battery packs right now. Really curious about those to see how long those last. Got those in there. It's nice. Batteries get expensive really quickly. So we'll see if they hold a charge long enough. They're sending great pictures, which is awesome. So got them all set up. I have on each property, I have at least one on a scrape and a travel corridor. And then I have one on trying to get as much field of vision as possible on whatever's in front of the stand, just trying to collect data. I haven't hunted either of those properties in 2 years since I've been hunting at the house so much. So we're just trying to collect data, but those reveal cams are unreal. I mean, it's crazy. Like I used to have to drive all the way out there to pull SIM cards, and it feels antiquated now. And now, like you just mentioned, like I have 2 kids now, and like I'm busier than I ever have been. It's not always conducive, and it's one of the reasons why I haven't hunted those properties in 2 years. Even though it's only an hour away, that's a lot of time to get up there and go up there and pull cards and bring them back. And so, anyways, the reveal cams have been phenomenal. So that's been a huge value add this past year.
Have you had any issues with bears tearing them up?
Not yet, but the property I just put them on, Ed's property, it's gonna happen for sure. Longtime
Yeah.
listeners will also remember my favorite episode, 6 generation mountain trash, way early on in the days. I've had a lot of trail cams and shit stolen from that property too, from the neighbors. So Reveal makes a lockbox, and they make trespassing signs that are basically like "smile, you're on camera" kind of things. So I put up some deterrents this year.
Well,
That's
that's
the
the
other
awesome.
benefit too. I was telling you yesterday, like if they come and steal it, it's set up in a spot where I'll have a picture of them at least.
Well, the Reveal Pro has a GPS tracker in it, so
Yeah.
if they steal it, you can give it to the police, and they can actually go recover it.
Yep.
Which is
Way
incredible.
cool. Way cool.
Yeah, it's badass. Yeah, I'm a big fan. We're actually dealers now for Tacticam and Reveal, which is awesome. We only sell them to the team for basically our cost plus a little bit, but we might open that up later because we have a few extra cameras we need to clear out. But I'm a big fan. For any sort of one, if you're busy as hell like we are, and then 2, if you're remote, which I just finally got my family farm fully under lease, which is awesome, going forward. And then this is a separate one. This is my old man's side of the family, separate one from the one that Perry and Evan have grown up hunting on. But it's going to be so much easier to be in. I can sit in Colorado and then manage,
Yep.
get fucking pictures of bucks and stuff to me. That's going to be pretty awesome. We're pretty stoked for it.
Yeah. Checking those 2 properties also made me put 2 more items back in my pack. Folding saw, like a small handsaw. Hadn't checked a couple of those stands in a minute. Climbed up in them, checked them, and that's going in my pack. So when you're there and hunting, you can adjust, which will pay dividends later in the season. So I have a Fiskars folding saw. And then I'm going to start carrying my grunt tube with me. I use a Illusion Systems extinguisher, like the black one. I'm going to start carrying that for the remainder of the season. Just maybe some light grunts here at the beginning. Sometimes I mostly think it's just to keep me from getting bored, gives me something to do every once in a while. But I've had good success grunting in bucks, even if it's fun. It's fun messing with the younger bucks too. So those are going in my pack for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. One, I definitely needed a saw the other day. I forgot a saw and I forgot a hoist, so that was not fun climbing. When I finally got to where I was sweating my ass off and was dying because I had my pack on with the rifle strapped to it, trying to climb. There's tree limbs that I was like trying to weave around. It was sketch. So yeah, the folding saw, I'm a big fan of. You can pick trees, especially down here in Louisiana, Georgia, kind of more in the deep south. You can definitely pick, there's plantation pines, yellow pine, where you can just go straight up on them. But it's just good to have it in case you do need it, because it can make your life a lot easier to clear out. Plus, if you're hunting and you're getting into some hardwoods, and even if you can climb and go around the limbs, just when you get set up, you can drop a couple, open up some shooting lanes. Now, know your local regulations. Some areas you're not supposed to drop a limb or 2. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I don't set the rules. But
they didn't ask us.
Yeah, they didn't ask us. Man, I back in Virginia, I was having a lot of good results. Just running a little bit of a drag line coming in with some of the tinks estrus doe,
Classic.
and then just hanging that in, dude. It is so cool when you watch a buck just moving and then he hits that drag line and then just immediately like just stops on a fucking dime and then just comes right at you on a rope. It's
Yep.
really cool. So this is definitely the time to be using that. I think guys overuse it. You know, it needs to seem real. What I'll do is I'll run a piece of like 550 cord. I use tampons actually. So I'll take, you can buy the wicks, but like they're expensive. Tampons are way cheaper. And I'll just tie it to that 550 cord, have, I don't know, 10 feet behind me, coat that tampon in the doe urine, and then just walk and then just drag it. I try to do it in an area where I think like you've seen traffic, so it feels like a natural movement. And you know, rolling that is it's been pretty good. And then I don't hang it right where I'm at. Right, you walk it in, and then hang it kind of in that spot up in the tree where you have a good shooting line of sight to that, and then go back into your stand.
Yep. Yeah, it's fixing to heat up a little bit, and that's what makes whitetail hunting so addicting and fun.
Yeah, this is prime time. I mean,
Yep.
I'm excited. It'll be cool to hunt down here in Louisiana. I've got no large aspirations with the lack of preparation I've done to hunt down here, but if I can kill something. The one thing that's weird down here, and I think it's just the WMAs we're hunting, but after today, you can't shoot does. It's buck only, which is weird for whitetailing, but I don't know. It's probably because of all the pressure that these WMAs get.
Yeah.
Buck only, but it's any buck, no antler restrictions. So there ain't a forky that's safe.
Well, I hope you get one down there, man.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I'm not really sweating it. Not in the meat crisis that I was. Now that we got an antelope and a mule deer down, and still got 2 more tags down in Colorado, back in Colorado, here in a couple weeks. I'm stoked for that one.
A lot of season left.
Oh yeah. Well, that was more of like a fucking bullshit episode than a like than a true tips, but that was good. It's fun getting back into the whitetail woods. I feel like I'm coming home.
Back to your roots.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, cool. You got anything to round us out?
No, as always, which is a really common thread here, but just prepare more than Carter and I do. Take the time to actually prep. Yep. Don't wait until the season starts. Just get after it and check your gear. Always check your stands. Use your safety harnesses. If you have stands that are up, you leave them up year round. That's fine. Check those straps, and every couple of years add a strap. Right, like we do that, and the tree will start growing around one, and you just add another strap to it, and just kind of is what it is. It becomes part of the property. But just don't take that shit for granted, especially on hang-ons. Ladder stands are at least leaned up against, but just be careful out there. A lot of guys this time of year and gals get hurt in tree stands, and it can be life-altering, paralysis or even death. So really be safe, take care of yourselves, make sure you're checking all your equipment, checking your gear, and good luck. I mean, we're getting into prime time for whitetails. This is the fun. This is the fun part.
That's right. Yeah, good luck to everybody listening. Appreciate the hell out of you guys. And we'll talk to you. Well, whoa. Team applications, Luke.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Go apply for the team if you're interested in building or getting to be a part of a community and helping build a community that centers around this lifestyle. Go to the website under the Our Team tab and read it all. Make sure that's something you're interested in and drop an application. We're actually leaving a couple slots open probably for the rest of the year. We're trying to kind of a trickle instead of open them up and just getting bombarded with a couple hundred interviews. We're going to try to do a little trickle interview deal. So we'll see how this goes, and maybe it's what we do going forward. Maybe we'll pivot again. But yeah, we're stoked. We just added, I think, probably around 40 new folks this past week, and just going to keep growing. If you're into this sort of thing, hit us up.
Yep. As always, appreciate the hell out of you guys. We'll talk to you next week.